In this lecture, we'll look at the split brain experiments and what happens when the language centers in the left hemisphere are disconnected from the right. As we've already discussed, lateralization means that each hemisphere has functional specializations. They do different things. For example, in most people, the left hemisphere is specialized for language. Also, as a general rule, the right hemisphere controls the left side of the body and vice versa. The corpus callosum is a neural network connecting the two hemispheres, allowing information to pass between them. For some people with very severe and debilitating epilepsy, the corpus callosum was severed to contain electrical impulses and reduce the severity of the seizures. The question, though, of how would these split brain patients, as they're called, process language information if this information was sent only to one hemisphere? The experiment went like this. Words or pictures of objects were flashed to the left eye or to the right eye and then transferred to the left or the right hemisphere. Again, there's a crossover, so if the information went to the left eye, it would go on to the right hemisphere. Patients could name words or objects seen by the right eye and received in the left hemisphere, where Broca's area and Wernicke's area are located. Yet, patients could not name the words or objects seen by the left eye and received by the right hemisphere, where there is no Broca's or Wernicke's area. You can think of this information as being trapped in the right hemisphere and unable to be processed by Broca's and Wernicke's areas. Most bizarrely, though, the patient could pick out an object seen with his left eye, which was sent to his right hemisphere, with his left hand, or even draw it. What this means is that the right hemisphere is receiving the information and can send signals to the left side of the body. But the person is simply unaware that he or she has this knowledge. It isn't conscious knowledge. Here's an example of how this looks in an actual person. Kenneth Heilman in Creativity in the Brain reports, "One patient I had the privilege of examining told me once when she was getting dressed she wanted to wear a blue dress and thus took a blue dress out of the closet with her right hand. When she went to get the matching blue shoes with her left hand picked up the red shoes." And you can see from this example, the person essentially has two brains or two minds. The split brain experiments not only show the importance of Broca's and Wernicke's area in terms of language and the different functions of the left and right hemisphere, but the very nature of consciousness itself. It suggests that even in non-split brain people, we may have knowledge or information in our right hemispheres that we are not consciously aware of. So that internal voice that we think of as our true selves may be just scratching the surface of who we really are. It's also amazing that in these split brain experiments, these people led relatively normal lives, even though their hemispheres were separated and had different ideas about what to wear in the morning. And this brings up the important phenomenon of brain plasticity. In young children who have had what's called a left hemispherectomy, the removal of that hemisphere, or who are born without a left hemisphere, the right hemisphere can take over the language functions. In this way, there is some degree of flexibility or plasticity, especially in young brains. And just as a final note, it's not exactly clear if animals have something directly comparable to Broca's and Wernicke's area. However, there have been some experiments on monkeys. With the removal of the left temporal lobe, Japanese macaques couldn't distinguish the coo sounds of their young, but when the right lobe was removed, there was no effect. So that concludes the video slides for the segment on language and the brain. I hope that you've enjoyed it and that you're inspired to learn more about the nature of language and the nature of the brain.